Hello viewers, well here we go. This is what happens when you have people in charge of our lands with Lantana. So basically this footage here is of land up near Montville Way, so on the Sunshine Coast, and it clearly and graphically shows you what happens to the trees, the koalas, all of the habitat as it starts to propagate. So basically I wanted to show you how'd you be waking up to this view when you look down that valley. That is stunning. Doesn't look quite as graphic on the drone as what it does in real life, but man, that's a pretty picture down that valley. Trouble is when you look in other directions and you see what is actually around the area, you start to very easily understand. This slope where we're looking up there continues up onto the Montville Range, and the whole of that surface at 30 plus 40 degrees is all weeds materials for the first nearly kilometre down that slope. So no wonder all of these properties downslope from there are suffering these sorts of infestations, and you can see the Lantana down under the power lines there down that slope into the rainforest. So basically what we're trying to do, and what has happened with 2018, is that we finally have correspondence from Mark Furner's office once again stating that interesting changes, because before this there's zero operations in Lantana, there's no plans to do anything with it. And now we're starting to see Moreton Bay Regional Council undertaking some programs which are very bad, but they're volunteer programs with the Brisbane City Council. If you were national parks and you put people into areas to remove weeds, and then they become what they call bush regenerators because they pull out some weeds, those people have to have protective clothing supplied to them. The Lantana carries deadly tick strains with paralysis, Lyme disease, which is the Australian version of Lyme disease, and it's unique to Australia. And we have ex-wildlife officers, because once they get infected, the national parks quickly get rid of them, and these diseases are actually life-threatening. Now when you look at this Lantana, you can see nothing's operating around these materials. All of the grasses right at the foot of these Lantana bushes, nothing's frequenting it. Even the cattle aren't coming to eat around these materials. It shows you some of the changes that come along as this material takes over slopes. Now see how it starts to get close to these trees? I'll show you more later on as we go further down these slopes, but the koalas are completely removed from those environments once these bushes start to approach. See the grasses? Nothing at all has been around these plants on their way to any of these other areas. See graphically between that, nothing's been walking through those areas. You got wild tobacco, you've got Lantana, and then you've got the vine groups on the edge of this rainforest. It's very disturbing and very upsetting to see the state government say that they have no operations in Lantana, there's no intention to do anything with it. But 2019 is already off to a good start and changing different letters that have been sent out by them. So here we go for some aerial shots. This has got Norfolk pines and Lantana all up these surfaces. That's what it marches like as it comes out of those ravines where it has access to large amounts of water. It then propagates uphill and to that ridge line that you saw me filming on there, and then it floods back down towards the main infestation. On that right hand middle of the shot is Anzac tree flower, which is just absolutely incredibly voracious and aggressive invader. That's a beautiful rainforest, all of that centre section of this shot here being invaded downslope to the right hand side, coming down into the base of it. The government says that there's no interest in doing anything to protect our native forestry or our koalas or any of our fauna. And this is some of the outcomes of what this actually looks like in real life, real time invasion of these properties as they're being consumed. This property will be completely consumed as this continues, and nothing will stop it except direct intervention. Poisons don't work on this material because they have to be growing so aggressively that the poisons are effective. Otherwise, you just harden the plant and it continues to then alter the gene mix-up. So see how these surfaces are just continuously being consumed, and no koalas can get to any of these gum trees, any of this forestry here. At the base of these trees, when you look down at them, there's no access to get water, there's no access to get to any other areas of this material. It's a very, very sad documentary when you see that, and the cattle are barely able to walk between these bushes now. And in most areas on this section of the property, the cattle have now stopped even trying to access those areas. And just like the national parks, that's the only thing that is holding up the complete takeover of this material. That top right-hand corner is the next-door neighbour's property down an incredible slope, and it is all material coming down into the creek and then back up into this land on this side. It's just horrific to see how bad these materials take over. But Mr. Mark Ferner's office has responded, and I've posted that to Facebook. And you'll see that they say that all state government agencies are responsible for their own land management and funding of that land management. Now then, how does National Parks do nothing? How does the Main Roads Department do nothing? I don't think that washes when you really look at it. The Premier is the head of the state and responsible for what these departments do. Saying that the Water Board, Main Roads, councils, all of these entities don't have to do any of this sort of work. With these shots here, you'll notice what it looks like from above and how these materials pull in around these trees and stop any access by koalas or other animals getting access to these sorts of areas. As you get down to ground level and you look at these, you can see under the tree there how that looks completely different to what you were seeing here. When you start to look laterally across the surface, you can see how incredibly different these things look in real time and how much area is being denied to our natural resources of our fauna. And the Australian Zoo say that this is a major killer of koalas, with the dogs, wild dogs and ferals attacking them. So anyway, thank you for popping in. Please write to your Premier, Prime Minister and your councils and your government departments that aren't doing their job and acting responsibly. And I'll catch you on the next one, and I thank you so much for taking the time to have come in and supported us. Please keep up the good work and please share everywhere you can. Look at these shots. Bye-bye. I'm Gary. Bye-bye.